Thank you all so much for coming. I appreciate you being here this morning. Those of you who are in the room with us right now, and those of you who are watching, either live or watching on our Facebook later, on our YouTube channel, or on our website. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here. As Carter already said, we are a New Thought Center. And what we do is simply help one another live the best life possible, because we know that's what we're here for. We're here to live a great life. There's no other reason to be here but to be children of God, to have God in us, flowing through us, and living the best life possible. And so, as she mentioned, we are human. And sometimes our humanness, the human things that happen on a day-to-day basis, cause us to forget who we are. And we're here to remind each other, we are magnificent. We are brilliant, capable, and everything that is necessary for us to have a great life is available to us at all times. All we do is allow the Spirit of God and the abundance of the universe to flow through us. Last week I talked about, what do you want? And we tend to, our words are so powerful. In fact, I usually start talking about speak what you seek. So be clear about the words that you speak, because they're so powerful. And what we speak into the universe, we draw into our lives. And I love that, because if we don't like what's coming into our lives, we get to speak or tell a different story, right? We get to say something else. We get to think about, what is it that I'm saying or believing or allowing into my life, and changing that. So we speak what we seek. And so to say that what is it that we want is putting it out in the future, is talking about that the universe isn't abundant. When we have wants, it's the universe isn't abundant, and that's not true. So we don't have wants. What we do is we claim our lives. We claim our lives. So what is it that you want to claim is what I would say are the words we want to use, and be very clear about what it is we want to do. Today I want to talk about the superpower of curiosity. Curiosity is a superpower because it allows us to keep our minds open. Open to what is, open to possibilities, open to what may be coming and who may be bringing it. You know, each of us, all of us, are God in action, right? We don't know who's bringing us our next gift from God. And it may not even look like a gift when you get it. A lot of times it doesn't look like a gift, but it is. It's always a gift. That's what I believe. It's always a gift. So I'm always looking for the gift. What's the gift here? What's the lesson? What's the learning? What's mine to do? And so when we talk about opportunities and we talk about curiosity, what happens is, and I'll tell a few stories about that, but what happens is, here's how I know when I'm not being curious, when I use these words, and tell me if this sounds familiar to you. When you use words like this, I don't understand why they're behaving like this. I don't understand why that's happening. I don't understand why she's wearing that dress. I don't understand. And that is actually the beginning of you judging something. It's not about being curious. It's not about asking what's going on there, what's happening. It's not including that person in your conversation, whether you're actually physically talking to them or including them in your mind. I talked last week about all the conversations I was having with someone at Walmart that had no idea I was having the conversation. You can have conversations all the time, but the conversations you have out loud. So being curious, it goes like this. Tell me about that. Tell me about that. What does that look like? Because we make a lot of assumptions. We don't always even know that we're doing it. I do it all the time, assuming that you know the language I'm talking about, the words that I'm talking about, even the way that I'm using a word may not be what you're comfortable or know about the use of this word, but I'm using it like you're supposed to know. And so when I'm really okay with, I think a lot of people don't want to ask questions because they don't want to feel stupid. Like, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people in school don't raise their hands, right? Because they feel like, but you're in school to learn. That's where you do raise your hand. But you don't want people seeing you raising your hand. Like, you feel like you should know what the teacher's going to teach you before they teach it. So being curious, raising your hand, this is the way in which you actually grow and unfold yourself by asking questions. So I was in Big Sky last week in Montana, and I go this every year for Labor Day weekend. It is the best retreat. I highly recommend it. It's not just about ministers or anyone who's got any kind of licensing or education, not about that. It's about your spiritual life, wherever you are on your travels. And I tell you right now, if you go there, you will move to the next level of your life, whatever that is you're trying to draw in. You will be surrounded by people who believe for you, who know for you who you are, and talk to you in a way that you can begin to accept the good that's coming your way. So I go to Big Sky every year, and my life always leaps to the next level every time I come back. I'm so excited and exhausted because I just don't want to miss a thing. But I was doing a workshop, and so the thing that I talk about a lot is being clear about who you are. And what I believe is the best way to be clear about who you are is to know what you value and what you believe in. And so we do this every January. Instead of doing goals, we revisit our values and make sure they actually are the ones that are the most important to you. And I handed out a sheet that had 307 values on it, just for people to get an idea. I didn't want to walk into the room assuming that people knew what I meant when I said values, that they already had theirs picked out. I didn't want to do any of that. So I walked in with a list for everybody to take a look at of 307 values. And I asked them to look over the list if they wanted to pick anything off of that, or just go ahead and write the values that they think that they have right now, and write a list of your top 10, just your top 10 values. So we went through that, and then you get to talk to people about it, about what you believe and why it's important to you. And then I asked them to bring it down to 5. And here's why. Our minds can't hold a lot of information. The reason why our phone numbers were seven digits is because that's what you can hold, 7 numbers. And you put the 8th number into the first number, whatever goes out. So it's only 7. And so 5 is something you can actually manage and do every day. You can hold it in your head. Instead of having to write it down on a piece of paper and you stick it in your wallet, then it's out of your, right? It's out of sight, out of mind. You're not actually doing those values. But if it's in your head and you know those are yours, then you know you get to show up this way. Whatever you say those values are. For me, it's God first. It's just spiritual, my relationship. Whatever you call God. Doesn't have to be what I call him George. Because I talk to George all the time, like I'm talking to you right now, and just asking, what in the heck is going on right now? I didn't call this in. George is like, obviously you did, because there's no other reason for it to be here. I'm like, all right. So anyway, so I have these conversations all the time with George. So George is my number 1, and then it's courage. It's courage. It's number 2, because you can't do anything if you don't have the courage to step into it. And I'm telling you, it takes courage to do everything. Everything. To tell somebody how you feel about them. You know what? You're a great person. It's always been great. It's over for me. That is a hard conversation. But if you don't have it, what's the alternative? Living a lie? Right? What's the alternative? I have some agreements in here. Yes, living a lie. Live the lie. Live the lie. So those two are top, and then it's family. It's our spiritual community. So we're talking about this, and one woman, she was writing up her 5, and so when everybody finishes talking, I give people the opportunity to talk. Tell me how that went. How are you feeling about it? Whatever. And so she says, well, I think you really need to be careful talking about having only 5 values, or having your 5 values. Because values are, what was the word she said? She said, values are situational. Hey, hello. Right. And I said, I don't think you quite understand. I said, they're not actually. They're absolute. So tell me what you mean. Where would one of your values, be situational? So she pulled up this whole thing about, if you she was reaching for this one. She said, if you're in Nazi Germany and one of the SS soldiers stop you and ask you if you're in the resistance, should you lie and say that, and you are, should you lie and say that you're not? I said, listen, let me tell you something. First of all, you're not in Nazi Germany. You're not going to be in Nazi Germany, but that's another story. Secondly, they're your values, and you get to prioritize. So if safety comes over honesty, then safety is 1 and honesty is 2. That's your call. Right? But whatever it is you're deciding, and that's why you look at them all the time, because they're not adjustable to the situation. Your values are absolute. If they're not absolute, what are you anchoring your life in? How do you know how to show up? How do you know how to show up? If you don't know what matters to you, and if what matters to you changes depending on who you're talking to, right? So if courage is one of mine, it doesn't depend on anything. I'm going to have the courage to put my heart on the line and tell you what I feel needs to be said, and be prepared for whatever comes back at me. Because that's how I can live. I can't live knowing that I was afraid to say something or to step into something or to tell somebody, I don't like how you're treating that person, step away. That's not okay. To just step in the middle of something when I think it's not right. That's courage, right? And it doesn't have to be that big. Courage is small. I was at the movie theater. I've shared this with you guys before. You probably don't know because I tell you so many stories, and it's okay if you don't remember all the stories I tell you. But I was at the movie theater, and I was there with, I want to say it was my sister, but it was somebody I was close to. And there was a young woman in front of me. And she had on, it was summertime, so she had on one of those spaghetti straps, those very thin strapped tank tops. And across from her, this arm all the way up, across the back of her shoulder and all the way down the other side was just a thin line. And I thought, I'm thinking, what is that? It's like a pencil line? Did she mark that over? What's going on? And my sister's looking at it, and we're starting to laugh. And I think, you don't even know what the hell you're laughing about. Stop that. Stop that. So I just tapped her on the shoulder, and I said, excuse me, I'm sorry, can you tell me about this? What is it? Is it a tattoo or a drawing? She goes, no, it's a tattoo. We had a great conversation. It was a tattoo. It had meaning for her, and I'm not really clear exactly what the actual line meant, but what it said to her was that she had courage to be herself. That was a reminder to herself that she had the courage every day to be herself, right? Curiosity. I could have kept laughing at what? That's on my own nervousness and my own uncomfortability about not understanding and then being afraid to ask her about it. But because courage is big to me and unconditional love is big to me, then I had to step forth and just ask her. And she could have just said, none of your business. And then I was like, you're absolutely right. It's not my business. I'll just go on thinking what I was thinking. But no, I would have done that. Just saying. But that's okay. So being curious is a big deal. It's your superpower. If we believe in unconditional love, and I don't know that we all do, but to me, unconditional love, divine love, God is all synonymous. It's the same thing, right? So being curious about someone, asking is loving them, is saying, I'm interested in what's going on here and what you are doing. I ask Rebecca all the time about her artwork, because I'm not an artist and I don't always understand what I'm looking at. And so I ask her, so tell me what's going on here. Some things are really clear, like the beautiful tornado she's got going on, but some things are not, to me. And so I want to know because she's a great artist, and I want to understand, and I want to love her in that way and show her that I respect what she's doing, even though I don't understand it. Understanding is not necessary for you to love somebody, to love what they do, to show them that you care about what they're doing, right? Sometimes
it's just eye candy.
Sometimes I don't mean anything. It means it's beautiful. That's all it means. Great. Okay. So I was coming back from Montana and Bozeman. I was in Bozeman Airport, and the plane was late. I really hate when they tell you what's wrong with the plane. If you say something's wrong, we got to fix, we got to clean it, whatever. That's fine. I don't need to know the details. What they said was, the plane won't start. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? The plane won't start. See, what goes on in your head when somebody tells you that? Like, if it won't start, is it going to stop in the middle? Right? So anyway, that's a side story. So we're sitting around and they're trying to get the plane to start. And so we're late taking off. And so many people who were getting on the plane, this was the last plane out Bozeman to Dallas, to DFW, when they were going to catch their connecting flights. And so many of them didn't, and there wasn't necessarily a connecting flight on the other end, so they had the option of sticking around and catching the first plane out the next morning. So my point being that the plane wasn't as full as it was originally going to be. It was going to be really full, but it wasn't as full. So I get on the plane, and it's just they're about to close the doors, and I'm just sitting in a row by myself. Nobody's sitting there in the seats next to me, and this couple comes down, and they're sitting right next to me. So, okay, great. So I got up, let them in, sat down. Lady next to me, she's sitting in the row by herself. So I said, okay, and now they're closing the doors. I said, all right, well, I'm going to move over here, give these couple some space, and I'll have some space myself. So I get up to move over, and the lady doesn't want to move out of my way. She says, you know, there's empty seats in the exit aisle. And I said, oh, yeah, I don't want to sit in the exit aisle, so excuse me. And at that time, I didn't realize that she didn't want me sitting there. I didn't get that. I just said, oh, well, thank you for that. But hello, how dumb is that? I mean, because I think everybody loves me. So, another story. Anyway, so I get in and I sit down, and then I see her out the side of my eye, and she's, if at all possible, she's throwing things, like, just make all these faces. I'm like, oh, she's disturbed by the fact that, well, I'm sitting here, I'm not moving, so okay. Then so we take off, and the guy sitting in front of her, apparently he's quite tired, but he couldn't get comfortable in his seat. He didn't lay the seat all the way back, he just laid it back a little bit. But then he kept moving his head, and his head was sliding through the back part of the seat. And she was like, oh. And she was trying to debate whether she was going to say anything, and I just thought, I don't think it's a good idea for you to say anything, homegirl. And she didn't, she just looked at it. And so finally I just thought, all right, you know what? Don't need to judge that. Be curious about it. What is going on? And I finally realized when I saw what she was doing on her computer and stuff like that, there's something there. It wasn't about control. There was something there that made her feel comfortable knowing exactly what was going to happen. And when it went out of what was supposed to happen, it disturbed her. That's all. That's all it was. So my point is, no judging. Even though I didn't talk to her, I could see what was happening. I could see. And so getting curious about what was happening helped me love her, understand her, because love looks a lot, love has a lot of channels in which you love people. One is understanding, because once you understand something, what's to hate? You understand it. You forgive it. You don't even have to even forgive it because you love it, right? So that's what we get to do. So how many times the airport, the planes, Walmart, there's many places where we get to love people. We get to decide. We get to be curious. We get to see God in everything and everybody. And it's not about them, because they don't know. The conversation I had last week in my head about the kid at Walmart, he didn't know jack about that conversation. That was in my head, right? So what happens in your head is about you. What you decide to do with the conversation in your head is about you. If you change it from being judgmental to, I don't understand what is going on, to, what is happening here exactly? What could that be? What is that? That's a superpower. It's a superpower. It helps you evolve your life. It helps you have a better life. You're not walking around upset, judging people, wondering, why isn't everybody like me? Right? Because isn't that how it should be, right? Everybody's like me? And then how boring would it be if everybody was alike? How boring would that be? I love looking around at all these beautiful faces and how you all are. I asked Garrett to come in this morning and help me take some photos, because as I'm going out doing some talking and workshops and whatever classes, I needed to rechange my website, put some better pictures on it, because my website is about my singing, and I haven't done that in a long time, so it's well overdue. Well overdue. So I'm doing that, but when he was taking the photos, I didn't realize how experienced. Well, I know he's experienced because I know he's taken a lot of pictures. But I didn't know how good he was, because the things he was telling me to do. And I thought when I was at the studio at doing what's the Steve Harvey show, Family Feud. When we were doing Family Feud, they were taking pictures of us and and they were putting makeup on and telling us to turn our heads. And he was doing exactly the same thing. Lift your head, do this, sit down. No, I don't know. What's this? Do this, do that. Oh my God, I'm about to get a good picture out of this. Just to see what people, I never knew that about you. I mean, I knew you're always taking pictures, but I didn't realize you're taking good pictures. Like, you know what I mean? Like great, like everybody, I could take pictures. My pictures suck, but But I know you're taking great pictures, so thank you for that, for the gift that you have. And so just being curious, I just asked him to do something for me. He immediately said, oh, absolutely. Didn't even know what it was about. He said, sure. I love that. I love you guys. I love life. So my point is this. Be curious. I leave you with 3 things. Be curious. Can you share with me? And she said it in a nice way. People know what your intention is by the way you say it, by the way you look when you're talking with them. Just the feeling that you have within you is experienced by other people. The energy that you're putting out is known. You think it's not. You think you're hiding something, but you're not. Your sad energy, your angry energy, your happy energy, all of our energies are known by the people we're talking to or being around. It really is. So it matters how you approach people. So if you're asking someone, share that with me. What do you mean by that? The way that you say it, what do you mean? Or, right? What do you mean by it? What is that? What do you mean? That's judging, right? But tell me about that. Share with me. Everybody wants to talk about themselves. I believe that adults don't have enough places or people where they can talk and share their deepest hearts and be heard. And be heard. Adults aren't heard well enough, and we don't listen well enough. Both sides. Both sides. So I love this community, but we actually do that. We actually get to hear one another, sit down in conversation over our classes or whatever we do in our afterwards, and hear one another, speak to one another, serve one another. That's what we do here. So 3 things. Be curious and asking, share with me what this is. I don't understand. Can you help me? That's what that is. Can you help me understand? Number 2, engage yourself and others. When you're engaging yourself, why do I care about this? When I found myself looking at this girl line across her shoulder and starting to snicker, I'm thinking, what are you doing? What is it to you? It's her back. It's not, what is the matter with you? Right? And I ask myself this all the time because I'm a human being. I'm a human being. And God is first for me in my top values. But God is always talking to me too, saying, what are you doing? What's this about? You're too tired for this. Go lay down. What? All the time. All the time. So engage with yourself and with others. Tell me about this. And the 3rd thing is let your spirit. I don't even understand my own writing here. I don't know what that was. But anyway, I think it's supposed to let your spirit lead your curiosity. I'm pretty sure that's what it meant. Let your curiosity, let spirit lead your curiosity and inform your curiosity so that when you're asking someone, the Spirit of God, of love, of service is coming through, is shining through in your question. Curiosity is having a desire to know or to understand, and it encourages your own personal growth. It inspires you to unfold, to evolve, because we're always evolving, right? Hopefully, we're not the same that we were 10, 20, 30 years ago. Hopefully we are and I don't want to say better, but we're a more evolved person with more understanding, more patience, more kindness, more love in our lives that we're willing to show. It inspires us to evolve and to ask the question and to discover what is next. Do you know there's always something next? You are never finished. Never. I don't even think when you go to the grave are you finished. I think there's more for you to do. I feel my sister around me all the time. My mom and dad, I really do. So I don't think it's ever over. So it's always asking what's next. Let your curiosity about life enhance your life. And regularly test your assumptions. What are you assuming? What do you assume people know? What do you assume someone understands about what you're saying? You can when you're talking to someone and they're doing this, they're not quite getting it. That's a sign. They're not getting it. What? They're not saying what, but their eyes, heart. What? So, you don't make assumptions. Don't do that. The future belongs to those who are curious. Curiosity is the most powerful thing you have, besides the power of God within you. The power of God within you and your curiosity. So let me give you a final quote from Albert Einstein. The important thing is to keep asking questions. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. And so it is. Namaste.